Brian Roisentul here. I'm the host of the Fit Growth Machine podcast, where I talk with top leaders in the fitness industry. In today's episode, we are going to discuss how to lead an industry for decades. That's exciting, right? So, before introducing today's guest, let me tell you that this episode is brought to you by BSR Digital. At BSR Digital, we help fitness brands that want to scale their business to the next level through Facebook, Instagram, and Google Ads. BSR Digital knows that the most e-commerce brands want to grow their sales, but they lack a solid plan and professional team to help them succeed. That's why BSR Digital offers strategic plans, implementation, and ongoing optimizations to help more than 1,000 e-commerce brands grow and surpass their competitors. To learn more, you can visit them at bsrdigital.com, or you can also email them at hello@bsrdigital.com. So now, today's guest, I have an awesome guest today. His name is Chris Osborn, and he's the Director of Marketing of FStop. Hey, Chris, thanks for being on the show.
Hey, Brian, thanks a lot for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure. So please, why don't you tell the audience what the company does?
Sure. So FStop, it's a little history, and then it'll all ratchet into place, hopefully, as we go here. FStop just celebrated its 15th anniversary in 2000. So we're really, really proud of that, especially in the space that we're in. We manufacture camera bags and camera packs, camera backpacks. And in a really interesting way, FStop actually invented that market segment. Prior to 2006, if you were a serious outdoor photographer, so you went to mountains and you were photographing snowboarders, or you were out photographing extreme athletes that were doing like mountain biking kind of thing, and you needed a technical pack to get gear out to those locations, you were kind of stuck. You took a technical pack and you hoped your camera gear worked. You packed sweatshirts, pants, or whatever else you could around it to keep your lenses safe and your camera bodies okay. So there was a conversation actually at the Outdoor Retailer show in I think it was in Salt Lake City, Utah at the time. So a conversation between the founder of the company and a good friend of his that was such a photographer. And they kind of going, there's a product there. And isn't that how most great products are made? You know, you identify a specific solution and you come up with an elegant way, or specific consumer problem, and you come up with an elegant solution to it. And that's what FStop is. So what we manufacture are high-end camera bags and packs that are designed for serious photographers that are about adventure. The bags themselves, we pride ourselves on quality, on innovation, and we also pride ourselves very much on the connection we have with our customer community. All of that's really important. But yeah, at its core, we manufacture camera bags.
Wow. You said like 15 years or so?
Yes, 15 years. 15 years last year. We just started in our 16th year here in 2022.
That's a long time. And you not only, started or invented a category or the product in that category, but you still lead the category today, right?
Yes. Now, there may be other manufacturers out there that would differ. We probably don't sell the most camera bags of anybody, but there's really no question that we lead the entire industry in terms of innovation, quality, enhancements to bags. So we just launched 3 new bags in time for the year, our big year-end promotion. So they're the 2022 models of 3 of our iconic Mountain Series bags. And I promise you that within 9 months, other manufacturers that are in our space in some way, shape, or form will be copying some of the innovations that went into these new bags. We're basically the first to market on a lot of things, and we really have, I think, stayed ahead of the market in a lot of ways. And it's just, yeah, I'm biased because I love the company and I love our products, but
I can tell that.
Yeah, you can't. A lot of reviewers and a lot of folks out there in this space say the same thing. You can't find a better bag. So
that's awesome. And I'm curious always whenever I meet a company like this that stays as a leader for many years, I'm always curious about the key elements or the key ingredients to lead a category for a long time. So could you please help me break those down?
Yeah, of course. And that's actually a really fascinating question, because I really think that our formula for long-term success can be replicated in other industry segments. Probably not in our segment because we're there, but in other industry segments. So I think the first thing is a commitment, like well, the first thing is your corporate culture. Is everybody committed to the things you have to do to stay at the top? And so that is innovation, quality, and for us, at least, it's the connection to our community. Those things are really critical to us. But if everything you do in terms of manufacturing, design, research into component parts to your product, if it's all aimed at being innovative, finding new ways to do things that the product has to do, and then just being a relentless focus on quality, you can get there. And that's really been the hallmark of FStop. If you go, one of the things that struck me is before I started the company, I did a lot of research, sort of wired that way, but did a lot of research, and I was stunned at a couple of the independent reviews that I read. One was, and this quote stuck with me. The quote was, "FStop, with its legendary reputation for quality." And I'm like going, okay, that's a brand I can get behind. And I didn't really quite realize just what that meant until I got here and I saw it on the inside. We have a reputation for quality, and it is legendary, but there's a reason for it. It's because the entire company, from the CEO and founder right down to our customer service personnel, we're all dedicated to the same thing. It's critical to what we do.
So there are a lot of golden nuggets there, and I want to go one by one because
Sure.
It sounds so simple and it's too complex to achieve. So when did you start working in the company?
I started in July of 2020, height of the pandemic, middle of
And you
lockdown.
already talk as if you were working for them the 15 years of their, since they started, right? I mean, you are, of course, you love the company, as you said, and you are a team member of the company, an important one, of course. But the fact that you are motivated and you are not the founder means that they are doing something well, and of course you're doing something well as well. So I just wanted to recap a little bit because I love reading business books, productivity, and many other related. I'm exhausted at some point. I want to read a novel or something else probably, but I got stuck with like one after the other, and friends say, "Hey, aren't you tired?" Yes, but I cannot stop. It's like I'm an addict to that. So and all of them look more or less the same. And I'm trying to find some secrets. How do I make this company grow even more? And it all comes down to, regardless of the book you read with different names, but more or less the same ingredients. And I mean, I am expecting, as probably many other entrepreneurs, the secret sauce. And probably there's no such thing. And there's some clear things, as you say. You need to be different. You need to innovate. You need to take care of your customers. And it's like, okay, I know, but what else? And it's like, no. Are you doing that? Are you doing that? Because it sounds so easy. Yeah, you need to be different. You need to innovate. You need to take care of your customers. But how do you do it? And if you are a one-man shop, yeah, of course, if you care about your customers, your company will care about your customers. If you're innovative, the company will innovate. But what about when you have many employees, 10 employees, 20 employees, 1,000 employees, or 100? I don't know. So how do you innovate? What are the key things that you can tell, of course, the audience that you do to be ahead of your competitors and to innovate?
Right. Well, I'm going to go back to something that I learned years ago as a young professional. I stumbled into this writer named Peter Drucker, who's deceased now, but he used to write and research at the Harvard School of Business, and I'm pretty convinced Professor Drucker was an alien. He was so prescient and saw things in the 50s that came to fruition in the 70s and 80s. And a lot of what he said still resonates with me. And one quote that I love of his is he says, "Culture eats strategy for lunch." And he's exactly right. You can have the greatest business strategy ever written or ever developed, but if your culture, if your company culture doesn't support it, it's never going to happen. On the other hand, you can have kind of a crummy strategy, but if your company culture is everybody's into it, everybody's on the same page, everybody's pushing and pulling the same direction, your company's going to succeed. Culture does eat strategy for lunch. I really do believe that. So for us, I think that's a big piece of this. Our culture, and by the way, I didn't say this earlier, but it bears mentioning. We're a very widely dispersed company. So we have a handful of employees here in the United States. We have employees in Europe, several countries in Europe. We have employees in Asia. We're scattered everywhere, and I can absolutely guarantee you that the cultural insistence on quality runs across every employee, no matter where we're located. Okay, so it gets down to, I think, finding people that are wired the right way. So when I was talking to the founder and the COO about things, and it came down to sort of, well, what'd you like of us? I mentioned that quote about the legendary quality. I said, I'm in love already. This is exactly the kind of company I want to be a part of, because that reflects a real commitment at a cultural level, sort of the company DNA, if you want to put it that way, to quality. So, you're asking for the secret sauce. There really is a secret sauce, I think, and it's all about having a culture that drives your company forward, that's aligned with your values, with what you want to be when your customers think about you, and how you want to be referred to in the market. And we're all a part of that, and we're all about that. So, we're about customers that want to be part of an adventure. We're about creatives and visual storytellers. And that's an interesting group of people. And the really good ones are just like us. They're innovative. They're about detail. They're about quality over and over and over again. And we are really, really well aligned, both in terms of our employees and our customer base on those values. It's a pretty neat thing. And, as a marketing professional, I know a lot of colleagues that would give their eye teeth to step into a situation like this, and I did. I just walked into it. I didn't have anything to do with building this amazing culture. I'd like to think I contribute to it going forward, but this was here when I got here, and it's a wonderful, wonderful thing to be a part of.
That's awesome, man. I think everything you said is true. And whenever you have a company, you need to care about your audience, what they want, what they don't want, what they love, and all those stuff. In fact, you keep that in mind for your website, right? I mean,
Right.
even the photograph, right?
Yeah, exactly. One of the things, yeah, you're exactly right. And sort of in terms of the audience, one of the I wanted to make sure we talked about this a little bit, because it's such a unique thing, I think, with this company. But again, when I was researching the company and looking at things, I stumbled into these brand ambassadors. A lot of companies call them influencers, or whatever you want to call them. But FStop had this incredible pool of people that are so devoted to this brand and so believe in it that they serve as brand ambassadors. We have over 200, and they're in different levels. But you start to look through these photographers, and they're all photographers. You start to look through them and their body of work, and they're some of the world's very best photographers in their space. Wildlife photographers, landscape photographers, architectural photographers, sports photographers, underwater photographers. I mean, people from every type of photography, the big landscapes to the macro, little tiny pictures of insects and things. Some of the stuff these people do is incredible. And I'm looking at this going, this is a marketer's dream come true, to have access to people, one, who love the brand like this, and two, will give you incredible content that you can use to market the brand. We don't, a lot of companies have to pay photographers to go out and do stuff. We just ask, and sometimes we don't even ask. They just send us stuff, which gets to the other thing that you were talking about earlier, that we were talking about, the customer piece of this. When I used to do a lot of business consulting, I used to tell people, I still think this is true. You cannot get a great answer unless you ask a great question. The question has to get to the heart of what you're getting to. And frequently what I've learned is finding the right question to ask is the hardest part of solving a problem. It's just, kind of the way it is. Well, one of the things that we do with these brand ambassadors is we listen to them, because we ask them questions about what they're doing, what they need, what can we do to these products, these already incredible products, to make them better. And sometimes the changes are incremental, sometimes they're really big. But we ask questions, and then we pay attention to them, and we listen to them. And on top of that, well, this is another part of this company that I just thoroughly love. The other piece of this is we actually involve the ambassadors in the product design and development process. We send prototypes out in the field and let these incredible photographers, these men and women that do this incredible work, take them out, take them on mountains, take them on glaciers, take them out to photograph wildlife, take them to the desert for the Dakar Desert Road Rally, whatever the case, wherever they're going. We don't put any limitations on it. Then they reach back and said, well, this didn't work so good, or this part worked really, really well, whatever the case may be. And there's a specific product that we just launched, the Ajna, which is a 37-liter, kind of a low profile bag designed for, it's got a very specific use case. Well, when I put the bag on in the warehouse the first time, I'm kind of going, yeah, these shoulder straps are kind of thin. They're thinner, and boy, wouldn't this be great if we beef these up? And so that was my reaction. And to be perfectly candid, that's exactly what the product designers thought too. Let's beef up these shoulder straps. We put them out in the field, and our ambassadors came back and said, why'd you do that? We like the thinner straps. We want the lightweight. And here's why. And they gave us exactly the use case back that we thought the bag was designed for. It's designed as a low profile. It's a travel bag. You can take it all kinds of places. You can carry a fair amount of gear in it, but it's not designed to be out in the backcountry for a week and a half. And our ambassadors were using it the right way. And they said, no, go back. And so we did. We listened. And guess what? That bag is selling like hotcakes. And it's just a key piece of this. It's just again, part of the culture.
I mean, to everyone listen, that right there is what I think at least is one of the keys to their success. I mean, so many companies I've met, they are in their warehouse, like trying to decide between two team members with valid opinions, professions, all stuff,
Right.
super capable, but they are not the end customer. And they think what's the best for them, and they keep thinking, and they iterate from time to time, board of directors involved sometimes, or the C-level, whoever, and then they release that to the public after month and month of work, and they wonder why it's not working. And what you just said, it's a clear example on how you put into practice what you say in theory, right? You keep these people involved, and it's not just the customers, you get ambassadors, and you don't need even to go outside and do so many marketing efforts so many other companies do, because you have these raving fans. So that's awesome. And one question I have on that is, I mean, it all sounds beautiful, right? Having ambassadors, all the stuff. But if I'm a business owner listening in, I'm wondering, like, how do I get started with that? How do I get at 200? My mom, my father, and who else, right? Who is going to be an ambassador of my brand? How do you get started there?
Well, it's an interesting question. And it's interesting to me that so many companies struggle with this, partly because it's so easy for us, and I walked into such a great situation. These people are already here, but I do know how we got it started, and I know how we keep it going, because it's that some of that falls under to my team and to me. So the first thing is to listen. You've got to be willing to go out and ask questions, and you can't be afraid of sometimes negative feedback. You just can't be afraid of it. You got to embrace it all. If somebody's willing to talk to you about your product or your service or whatever it is, listen to them. Honor that. Honor the time that they're giving you, even if it's negative feedback. It's like the straps. These straps don't work, guys. What were you thinking? You have to listen to that feedback and take it to heart. So the first thing to do is ask your customers questions. Don't be afraid to do it. Maybe it's as simple as an email survey after somebody attends a session or a class or buys a product or registers their product for warranty, whatever the case may be. Ask your customers questions. Send them simple surveys with 1 or 2 questions. Don't ask them to fill out 15 different, keep it simple. Just, maybe it's as simple as, would you recommend this product to your friends? If the answer is yes, Say, hey, thanks a lot. Could you give us the top 3 reasons you would? Start paying attention. And just as important, when people say no, what are the 3 reasons you wouldn't? Pay attention to those too, and then address them if it starts to be a theme, address it. And as you start to communicate with people and it's genuine and it's honest and you're really, it's clear that you want to have them involved, people will be involved. It will happen. But it doesn't happen by accident, and it's frequently not organic. Frequently you have to actually ask people to be a part of what you're doing. So have a program, have an idea what you're going to do with the ambassadors. What value do your influencers or ambassadors get from affiliating with your brand? That's a big part of it. And again, you got to ask, what would you guys like? So for our ambassadors, pretty simple. We want gear. We want access early. We want to be a part of your design process. Well, guess what? Thank you. That's perfect. So just ask questions, ask lots of questions. I tend to act like a 3-year-old sometimes and just ask question after question after question. But it's important. You got to be curious and willing to, like I said, you're not always going to get an answer that you want to hear, but the ones that are difficult to hear maybe are the most important.
And I love that. So one, for everyone listening, please correct me if I'm wrong, but do not offer discounts in exchange, right, of the answer. It should be a genuine one. I don't know if you do that or not, but what would you recommend to the audience? If like some people are like, hey, I'm going to give them a benefit for their time, or
That's another good question. It's like, how do you bring them in? How do you keep them in? So we are the premium brand in the market. We're the most expensive camera bag in the market. I'll just be real candid about it, but we're also the best camera bag in the world. And you'll see our ambassadors and reviewers say that over and over and over again. This is this is expensive, but it's worth every nickel of it. So yeah, we're just not into giving discounts. We run one annual promotion a year, and that's it. But we really do not offer discounts. It's just not who we are. But you kind of go back to what I said before about the sort of we're about these adventure photographers, these visual creatives that are dedicated to quality and innovation. We're wired that way. Our customers are wired that way, so they don't come to us expecting discounts. We're not a discount brand. Now, if you're trying to build a brand that requires lots and lots and lots of sales to be profitable, well, maybe that's different. But we're just not in that spot. So your approach to building an ambassador program and gathering influencers has to be connected. Can't be separate at all. It's got to be connected with your values as a company, and you'll find those people out there. So yeah, we're not a discount brand, just not.
yeah, that's great. Yeah, I was referring precisely to in exchange of answering the survey or doing the survey. It's like they shouldn't be biased either, right? They should fill it out because they like. And you said it briefly, and I would like to go there for a minute. It's not a one-time thing, at least not from the brand's perspective. You want the communication with them to be a constant thing, a relationship, right? So how do you keep them engaged? Do you have any platform? Do you provide them with certain value, or how do you keep them?
That's a great, yeah, and that's a part of that's the work part of it. That's sort of the looking in the back end of the sausage factory on that stuff. But yeah, we communicate with them pretty relentlessly, I have to say. So we have a weekly ambassador update that we send out via email to all the ambassadors. We tell them what's going on in the company, what they can expect, we'll let them know, hey, we got new bags coming. If you're interested in being a product validator for a drone pouch or whatever the case may be, we'll ask them. And again, ask questions, listen to answers. I'll get to the drone stuff in just a second, because that's an interesting way we got into that. But yeah, so we use email to communicate with them. We also communicate with them through social media. Our customers are very visual. They're photographers, visual storytellers. These are visual creatives. So most of them have a pretty robust presence on Instagram. So we communicate with them there too. We follow them all. We're commenting on their stories and their great stories, and then we reach out to them and ask them, "Hey, would you mind sharing that story with our our visitors to the website?" And we'll post their stories on our website. So that's constant happening. And then it's going to sound strange, but it's true. Our founder and CEO actually picks up the phone and talks one-on-one to every ambassador, and depending upon their level, it's the frequency, but he talks to every ambassador, and it's a stunning thing. When you're a brand champion, you're just kind of coming on board, and here's the CEO of the company. He goes, "Hey Chris, congratulations on being part of the program. Can we set up 20 minutes to get acquainted?" What other CEOs do that? I mean, I'm being serious. I don't think many do, and it's a big part of it. So we're invested in this program, and we're really invested in our ambassadors. They're important to us. They're part of our family, and so we treat them that way.
And yeah, I just don't know what to say. I mean, I'm blown away by this because it's another reason for you to lead a category. Like
Mhm.
the CEO is connected to their audience, to your audience, and
Yeah.
they feel a part of it because they are actually a part of the table. Through you mentioned you gave them a name, product validators, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
So
Product validators.
they are a product validator, they are ambassadors, and they get a seat with the CEO, right? Talk about what they love. I mean, seriously, I mean, after all, it's a bag that they buy and they are involved. I mean, I buy a mug. Of course, it's not the same thing, but the CEO doesn't call me, right? Doesn't call me to validate it. Like nobody calls me, even the whatever piece of gear, the guitar or whatever, so it's important that you use it. I mean, it's important to them, but it's a bag and they are so involved that it's crazy, and no wonder why you lead a category after so many years. So here we have people like practical examples of things you can do to lead a category for many years through ambassadors. How you can start having ambassadors, why it's important, and what you can expect from them, how to keep them engaged, and many more things that we are talking about. So this is great. Is there anything else you would like to mention? I have, for example, I would like to talk a little bit more about, I don't know if you do anything else, because with the ambassadors, I can imagine that you're covered there, but do you do any other, I don't know, do you use any other channel to get traffic and sales?
Yeah, exactly. So we do have a multi-channel approach to reaching out and touching customers or prospective customers, because not everybody that comes to the site is going to buy, plunk down a few $100 for a camera bag. That's fine. So we have our website, and we're very, conscious and cognizant of working on, SEO and making sure that all of that is in place. And I think we execute the basic blocking and tackling there fairly well. Social media is real important to us. Again, our customers are visual, so they're in Instagram, they're on YouTube, and you talked about how do you get started with that. Connecting with people on Instagram who are posting really amazing photographs and identify themselves as a professional photographer in New Mexico or Tahiti or Guatemala, whatever the case may be. We'll follow them. We'll like their posts. We'll comment. And hey, if you want to learn more about, love to, DM me, send me a direct message. And guess what? Many of them do. And you know who answers? The CEO.
No way.
He'll direct message back and say, hey, thanks a lot. Love that photograph. God, would love to get you in a better bag, kind of thing. But it's yeah, so social media is important to us, but for us, it's very, very much about engagement and connecting people to our brand and our brand story. We're out, we're all about, being out there and being, part of your adventures and your excursions to do cool things. So, sometimes I refer to myself as the director of cool stuff here because I get to do a lot of cool
I
stuff.
love that. No, I mean, when you
It's
put
kind of
these
fun.
words respectfully, you get a reply. I mean, you'd be surprised if you have never done it, right? I mean, and it's
Yeah.
what you're saying is great. I mean, you identify your audience, you follow them, you engage in a meaningful way with them, and you say, hey, if you love this or if you would love to know more about this, just DM me. No pressure, no hard feelings, no whatever, and they will do it. And no, it's awesome. It's on.
Yeah, I worked at a company right before I came here that sold sports memorabilia. I'm a big sports nut, so it was some of the stuff was cool, but somebody would come and buy, let's just say $1,000 autographed baseball from some Hall of Fame or whatever. That CEO never in a million years would have picked up the phone and called that customer. Never would have done it. Never would have said thanks. God, that's incredible. Never would have done it. Never would have done it. And what happened, the difference between the two customer bases is, one, they have no ambassadors, one, and two, all of the relationships are transactional, all of them. The relationships that we have with our customer base are not transactional. These are relationship driven, long term. We have people that come back and buy multiple bags in a year. I know it seems crazy, but they do. They come back and buy accessories from us. They do other things. I mentioned the drones earlier. We a lot of our photographers, if you're looking at a high-end photographer, you'll see a lot of great video that they take shot with drones. A lot of these folks are licensed drone pilots, but most of them have a drone. And I talked to this photographer in Canada, just outside Whistler, and he uses his drone to scout locations. So he'll take the drone in his bag, put it down, and send it up and kind of look for a place where he thinks, oh, that's going to be a great landscape shot, or a good place to get to set up a hide, to get a picture of a grizzly walking through or something. And we were getting images back, again, going back to what I said before about content. Ambassadors were just sending us stuff. They send us pictures. So they'll frequently send us a picture of the bag on the ground open so we can see what's in it. I kept seeing drones. We said, what? You're carrying a drone in that? They're like, yeah, we use them. And so we were like, all right. So we pick up the phone again, call ambassadors, talk to them. And the CEO, I was on a couple of these calls, he said, what would you think if we made a pouch, a carrying solution made specifically for your drone? They're going, oh man, you would do that? And we're like, yeah, is it something you could use? And I go, yeah, absolutely. So guess what? Now we make a drone pouch, and we got a few other drone carry solutions coming, and it's all because we're paying attention. We don't have transactional relationships. We have real long-term relationships with the people that are passionate about our brand, and they're passionate because we care, we listen, and we deliver quality over and over and over to them. So again, you're talking about the secret sauce. I'm not sure it's secret so much, but that's how we do it.
I love it. No, I love the whole thing, and I'm getting a lot of ideas even for me and my company. So it's
Good.
we'll learn from each other all the time, and I think the audience is getting some golden nuggets from these as well. So I love all of these. So a lot. Clearly, you have a lot of experience, right? Uh, did you have any mentors that help you get where you're at today?
I have over the course of my career. I'm sort of a self-described career chameleon. I've changed things I do for a living, well, as many times as most people change socks. I think it's just, I've done all kinds of stuff. So I kind of got into marketing in sort of a kind of almost accidental way. But when I got into it and really started to understand it, I realized I've been doing marketing my whole career. Just didn't call it marketing. But yeah, I've had a couple of really important mentors along the way. Going all the way back to a whole different career. There was a guy named Jim Irwin. Really taught me a lot about how to write and how to communicate with people in that respect. And then going forward, when I left that profession and entered another, the guy called me up, Kevin Pallardy, who is, I still regard him as one of my very dearest friends, and I've known Kevin for a long time, but he's been a great mentor for me for a long, long time. And again, sort of the kind of relationships we have with our ambassadors. Kevin doesn't always tell me what I want to hear. I was having some issues with someone time, and I said, these HR people just don't get me. And Kevin just looks at me, puts his beer down and goes, Chris, maybe it's not them. Which was like, yeah, okay, you're right. But that's what a good mentor does, right? They tell you the truth. And sometimes it's not easy to hear, but it's important. But Kevin was really important to me and still is in my life. We remain really good friends. And then the gentleman that sort of pulled me out of one career and drug me into marketing. Dean Pichet, he's the owner of a little company called Biz Library, which is kind of in some ways wired a lot like FStop, dedicated to quality and innovation, and their relationships with their customers are not transactional. Dean was all about that. So those people really help mold sort of the me as a professional. I think they're all real important to me, or have been at different times in my life, but very important.
That's great. Yeah. And what about books? Any book that you remember and say, hey, this book really helped me get something?
Yes, I read a lot. I love to read. We were joking about this earlier, so read a lot of business books, but I actually do make time to read fiction because it's good. It refreshes the soul a little bit, I think. But like business books, yeah. So some business books I read because they were sort of in vogue at the time, and then you go back and you look back on them and you kind of go, God, that was harebrained. So I'm not, don't want to call the author out, but there was a book about going from sort of okayness to really to wonderfulness. You know what I'm saying. And then you go look at the companies that they studied in that first book, and out of there were 24, 28, like 26 of them are out of business. It's like, so these principles maybe kind of grind you into the ground a little bit and don't lead to greatness so much, or at least lasting greatness. So that was an interesting book to read for maybe different reasons. It's sort of like, okay, so let's find some people to read. So a couple of folks that I really love, I stumbled into this book called Inbound Marketing by the guys that founded HubSpot. My gosh, that was just like an eye opener to me. And since I don't have a formal education in marketing, when I'm reading this book, I'm like going, well, yeah, why wouldn't you do it that way? That makes total sense to me. And it was just intuitive and logical. But subsequently, I've talked to a lot of like long-term marketing folks like, oh no, that's a bunch of, yeah. But I've built my whole marketing thing, I guess, around the principles espoused in that book, and they work. It's a really cool book, and they're really cool guys, and it's a great read. Another author, I've read several of his books and watched his TED Talk. It was really good. A guy named Daniel Pink, and he, like me, as a recovering lawyer, so there was that kind of connection to him as well. But he wrote a book called The Whole New Mind that was kind of like the inbound marketing book, kind of like, whoa, this is really stuff that's making sense to me. So yeah, if you're looking for an interesting book to read, Daniel Pink's a great writer. It's very narrative style. He doesn't write like a lawyer at all. He writes like just a person you're talking to, but his TED Talks are amazing too. So yeah, those are some that I've looked at over the years.
Before we wrap up, is there anything I didn't ask you that you think that would benefit the audience?
No, I can't really think of anything. I think we covered a lot of stuff today, but I think sticking with the subject at hand, I think we covered it pretty well. So yeah, I can't think of anything, Brian.
That's awesome. This was really, really fun. So where can people go to find more about you and the brand?
So I have a profile on LinkedIn. My profile on the company page is, we're actually working on employee profiles right now. But I do have an account at LinkedIn. You can go there and learn a little bit more if you want. But if you want to learn about FStop, which is really a much more interesting story, our website is fstopgear.com. And yeah, come and take a look. There's get a sense of what we're about, and look at the ambassadors, and see if what I'm telling you about them makes sense to you. You'll see some incredible, I promise you'll see some incredible images there. If nothing else, that'll be fun for you.
That's great. We'll make sure to put those links in the show notes, guys. So yeah, you've been great, Chris. Thanks a lot for being on the show. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Me too, and thanks a lot for inviting me. It was a lot of fun.